Hello, my name is Matthew Randall, and in this tutorial we're going to have another look at UV mapping. And in this session what we're going to do is have a look at a slightly different model to what we did last time. So rather than a sort of a chair, like a hard surface model with right angles to it, we're going to look at a kind of more complex shape that we've got here and think about how we deal with that, okay? And what kind of compromises we need to make, because clearly what we need to do in this model is we can't have, lay things out in perfectly flat edges. We're going to have some kind of distortion of the UVs in order to support this surface. Okay, so it's a slightly more complex surface to do, and also it's an opportunity to look at some of the more recent tools that have come into Maya. Okay, so when we're dealing with a model like this, this is actually made up of several objects. So when I'm dealing with a model like this, obviously what I want to do is just UV map one object at a time. So I just want to isolate, so I'm going to do this head, and I just want to isolate this head. So the way that I do that is I'm going to use display layers. So I've got the channel box open here, and I'm going to use display layers. Okay, so first of all I'm going to create a display layer with everything on it. Okay, so I've selected everything. I'm going to click this button, and that's going to create a new display layer with everything on it. If I turn it off, you'll see that everything disappears. I'm just going to rename this boy just so that we know what it is. Boy. Oh, I should mention as well, this model is from TurboSquid. So yeah, you can download this from TurboSquid and follow along. Okay. Then what I want to do is I want to select the face, and I'm going to create another layer, this time with the face. Okay, so I click on this, and what you'll see now is if I turn this off, the face disappears, and if I turn this boy one off, you can see that everything else disappears. Okay, so what's happened is I've basically moved the face from this boy layer to this new layer that we've just created. I'm going to call this layer face. Here we go. Brilliant. Save. Done. Okay, so right, so now what I want to do is turn everything off, and we just want to focus on this face. So when I'm UV mapping, what I want to do is I want to go into panels. I was going to use the UV I want to use the UV editor. Typically I go into panels, and I go layouts, save layouts, and perspective UV editor. So what this does is it gives me a 2-up view with the perspective in here and the UV editor there. That's generally speaking how I sort of like to work. Okay, let's have a look what we've got. Yeah, so we've got ourselves a bit of a starting point here. I'll show you how we've got this. So this is simply a planar projection. So first thing I'm going to do is just take this whole object and do a planar projection with it. So I'm just going to go into UV, planar projection, click on the options. What I want to do is make sure that I'm projecting from the right axis. That's the only thing I really want to do right now. And I'm projecting from the z-axis. That's fine. I'm just going to click apply, and you'll see that here we are. We've reprojected it, and we've got our face from the z-axis. Okay. Sorry, you might be wondering why we've got this kind of odd texture. I've actually got a few things turned on here, so I'm just going to turn them off so you get what you're expecting to get. So you should be getting something like this. Okay, sorry, I just want to select the UV shell again. So I'll go right click, UV shell to select the shell. There we go. Okay, so yeah, you should be getting something like this. So what we can do is there's several things we can do to inspect our UVs, and obviously right now these UVs are bad, so we can kind of see some issues. So first thing we can do is we can click on this icon here, and what this is going to do is show us overlapping UVs. So where we've got multiple faces occupying the same UV space. Okay, and you'll see that when it's red. Okay, and you can see that it's correct when it's this blue color here. Okay, so red's bad, blue's good. Okay, another thing we can do is we can look at our distortion. So if I click on this icon here, this will show us distortion. So at the moment we haven't got much distortion particularly here, although I would argue that we do have distortion, but it's not showing much in this particular kind of inspector here. Okay, we'll be using that a little bit more as we go on. Okay, so that's distortion that we want to look at. Next thing is I'm going to turn the distortion off, and I'm just going to go, if I just click on this should just take us back to, yeah, sorry, if I click on this icon, this will just take us back to the normal wireframe. I can also click this icon here, and I'll get a checker map as well on the character. Okay, and you can see exactly what we'd expect from a planar projection. Everything looks great here, but from the side here, things don't look so great. Okay, so obviously we need to work on this UV map. Okay, great. So I'm going to turn that off, and we're going to get started on this UV map. Now, first thing I want to do is I want to show you a new tool that I've come across. I think it's been in the last couple of versions of Maya, but I haven't seen it used much. So this is the 3D cut and sew tool. So once you select this, you'll see you can see the tool selected here in this icon here. I think you can actually double click on it, and there's a few options that you can adjust here if you need to. I don't think I need to look at those right now, so I'm just going to close that. So with that tool running, what I can do is I can actually just cut. I can select edges and just cut along the edges. I think I need to go into component edge mode. You'll see that you'll notice that yeah, I'm going to go component edge mode so that I'm selecting edges. Okay, you'll notice that the menu looks slightly different because I'm in because I'm in this tool. This tool gives me a slightly different hot menu than I'd normally get. So I'll go right click, but I can still go, if I go to components, I can still select, you know, what components I'm cutting along. So it's typically edges that I want to cut along. Okay, so once we're in edges, I can just click, and as I click, you'll see, can you see this thick white line here? You can see it's actually cutting as I select the edges. Okay, so that's really handy. And if I zoom in here a little bit more, I'm just going to go Control Z and just undo those cuts. Okay, another way of cutting is I can just literally just drag up here. You've got to be accurate because it likes to kind of go off like this, but you can just, you know, you can just cut up here like so. Okay, so you can just click and drag it as well to cut. Another thing you can do with this tool as well is if you press, so I'm holding shift and I'm just using again just the left mouse button, hold shift and left mouse button, and you see as I move up now, it's cutting across the whole skull. Okay, so I could use that to kind of go, hey, and figure out where I want to cut from. So I could go, hey, I want to select this edge here, and then I can go again shift and just move my mouse. In fact, that's probably not the way to do it. Let's do this again. I think I just need to be on the edge there. Shift and move my mouse, and I can cut over the top of this character. And I think I just want to cut this. Oh no, I want to cut there, and I want to cut there as well. Okay, so that should be the cut complete. I'm just going to go back to the normal selection tool, so I can click off the model and I can just check my cut there. Excellent. Okay, so I've cut it across there. That should allow me now to unfold the UV properly. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is pull up another toolkit that we've got available to us. So if I go into tools and go show UV toolkit, there's a whole set of tools in here that are worth looking at, and it's these unfold. If you haven't got this this tab open or unfold, opened out, then just click on here, and it's these options that we're looking at here. I like to just kind of dock my UV kit along with the control panel. I'm going to try and do that again. I didn't quite get that right. Let's see if I can dock it along here. There we go. So I like to kind of dock it. Can you see? Along with the control panel and the model toolkit, etc., etc. I like to just dock it there. I find that useful. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the entire UV shell. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is click unfold. Okay, so you see here it's given us kind of a good sort of starting point, a good kind of result here as an unfold. What I want to point out to you is that the unfold tool, one of the things, the unfold tool, all this is doing is really, all this button is doing is actually running this, I'll find it in a moment. Yeah, all it's doing is running this unfold tool here. Okay, in fact, sorry, that's the brush. I want to go to edit. Here we are, this one here. Okay, it's just running this unfold tool here. So if your unfold's behaving differently to what I'm doing, it might be the settings. So you can click on here. So you might be like in legacy view. You don't want to be in the legacy method. You don't want to use the legacy method for this purpose. You want to use the unfold 3D. Okay. If you just go edit, and go reset settings, it should reset everything. I'm just using the defaults. That's all I'm using. Okay. So if everything's running normally, you shouldn't need to go in here. It's just in case you have got some different settings, you might need to reset the options. Just be aware that there are some options behind that tool. Okay, or this button. Okay, and in fact, it's saying go shift left mouse button to call up the options in the little pop-up menu there as well. Okay, great. Next thing. Okay, so let's have a look at the distortion then. So here we've got the distortion. You can see we've got a lot of distortion around the mouth and the ears and the neck. Okay, so let's focus on those areas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a cut around the neck. So I think I could just go, if I just go into edge mode, because I think it's just a simple edge loop here. I can just simply select that edge loop by double click on it. Maybe not this one. Let's try again. Here we go. Yeah, it'll let me select that edge loop. It's not quite so sure about the other edge loop, but it'll let me select this edge loop, and that'll do. So I can select that edge loop. I've actually got cut and sew tools here as well, so I can go into here and I can just go I can go cut, so this will just do a cut. This will sew seams back together. The stitch together is kind of like the sew, but what it does is it moves the shells together in order to sew them up together. Okay, so it will move the whole shells together in order to stitch them together if that's what you need. So we're just going to do a cut. Okay, so again, if I just go into object mode and click on that, you can see yeah, we've got a cut there. And if I go into my UV shells, you can see that now we've got two UV shells. So I've got my face and I've got my neck. They're separate UV shells. Okay. Okay. And what we can do is I can now just with the move tool, I can just click and grab that and just move that, and I can just do I can do a separate unfold on this. Okay, so here I've just done a separate unfold just to kind of optimize this. Okay, I might find this is a little bit kind of, you know, as a UV, you know, I might say, well, actually, I don't quite want it like this. I might just try and hit optimize. And what optimize does is it basically it just rather than trying to do an unfold that kind of best matches the surface area of each of these faces, what it's trying to do is it just sort of optimizes the overall distribution of the faces. Okay, so if I click on this, you can see it hasn't really done much. So it's like an extra step on top of the unfold if that's something you want to do. I think in this case it hasn't really offered much, so I'm going to go Control Z and I'm just going to keep just the unfolded UVs that it gave me. Okay, great. So we've unfolded it. Let's do the same sort of process here. So what I want to do now is I want to do the ears. Now there's two ears, so what is worth it's worth now just switching on our symmetry. So up here I can click on symmetry. Again, we want symmetry around the x-axis. This is the x-axis going along this way, and this is where we want the symmetry. So I'm going to go, sorry, just do that again. So it's a bit clearer. Symmetry around the object x-axis, okay? Now what we can do is I'm going to try and use, hopefully I'm going to see if I can use my cutting tool to cut the ear. In fact, actually I might not do that. I might just select the edges and do a cut because it's a little bit fiddlier here. The 3D cut's really good if you're just following an edge loop, but if you're not and you're doing something a little bit trickier, then I find it still easier just to select the edges like this. That being said, I am losing track of the edges that I've selected. I think I selected all the edges. I think what I've done is I've selected an edge up here. But I think let's put the cut in and see what happens. I've got a cut. Okay. Hopefully you'll see that it's cut on the other side as well. Okay. So I'm just going to go back into. In fact, actually, I'll just select off that and just so I can just kind of check this cut. You can see I think I have actually missed an edge in here, so I'm going to go back into edge mode. I think it's just this edge here that I need to cut as well. So I go cut. Okay. So now that should exist as a separate shell, hopefully. So if I go UV shells, yeah. So now you can see that's a separate shell, and these ears are also separate shells as well. Notice it's selecting them both because we're still in symmetry mode. If I want to select just one of the ears, I just turn it off, and those are separate shells, okay? But I'm just going to go back, switch that symmetry mode back on. Okay, and what I can do now is I can just select those two shells, or the two ears, and move them up. So look, there we go. So you see I can select two ears and I can move them up. What I need to do is for them to unfold, I need to actually add an extra cut here. Trying to think best place to put this. I think I'm going to kind of cut around the... I think I'm going to cut around here. Okay, so I'm going to go edge, and I think I can just go... Here we go, let's cut along here. There we go. Okay. I think that will do it. And I think we can just have it sort of hinged around these edges. So I'm going to go cut and see what that does for us. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go unfold. Okay. No, that's not quite the result that I wanted. Hang on, let's just try that again. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm making a rookie mistake here. So the cut's fine, I think. All I need to do is actually select the UV shell and then click unfold. There we are. And then we get results that we'd expect to see. Notice, okay, there's slight different solutions in each side, but they're relatively similar, okay? Notice how it's unfolded both of the ears, okay? And that's kind of a relatively good solution. There is a red bit there. I don't know how visible that is. Let's try, what I might try is the optimization tool. So here we've got the optimization tool. It's like a brush, and I can kind of paint over. Do you see what I mean? And it will kind of loosen it up a little bit. I don't think that's doing a lot for us, but it was worth a try. Okay. What else could we do? We could... I'm wondering whether we could just maybe... if I go into face mode... So I could go into... Sorry, I want to turn this optimize... I just want to go and use the normal select tool now, because I've got the optimization tool on. If I go into face mode... Going to select these faces. So have we got those faces selected? Yes. It's not very clear whether we've got them selected, but I think we have. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my scale tool and just see if I can just scale these up and whether that give me a better solution. So let's just scale up the UVs. I was hoping I could just literally... Okay, I'm going to try a different tack. Rather than trying to sort of scale the faces, what I'm going to do is I am going to... I wanted to use the smudge tool, okay? And just see if I can use the smudge tool. Now, I'm hoping to select more UVs than that. Hang on. Okay, actually I think I want to use a different tool. What I want to do, I'm going to go into tools, I'm going to go into grab, okay, I'm going to use the grab tool here, and what I can do is, what you want to do is, here's the tool here, if you double click on it, you want to resize it, so I think by default it's quite large, compared to the size of the ear. I think it was like 80 by default, sorry, that's the strength, let's turn that off, it was quite large, I think it was like... I'm just going to do, I'll tell you what I'll do, I'm going to do a reset. There you go. So the tool is really massive. So yeah, it's like, oh, where's the tool? It's because it's really, really massive. So it might be that it's really massive. You just want to turn it right down. Okay. So it fits just this area that we want to edit here. In fact, smaller than that, something like this. Okay. And then what I can do is what I want to do is just, where we've got this red area, let's just pull this out and just give this red area a little bit more space. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm just pulling it out and just trying to see if I can pull out the distortion just using this grab tool. Okay, I'm not trying to overly, work this, just try and see if we can just optimize the solution, find a slightly better solution we've got right now. Okay, so at least we don't have the sort of really dark red here. Excellent. Okay, hopefully we got our symmetry turned on and it's done that for both. No, it hasn't. Okay, but this is a good opportunity to demonstrate the symmetry tool. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this grabber tool off. So I'm just going to go back to the normal selection. I think I've got, sorry, I've inadvertently turned soft selection on. I don't want that on. Okay, okay. So now what I want to do is I want to go into my, do I want to go into my UV shells? Yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do something called symmetry. So I'm going to use a symmetry tool. So I'm going to go Tools, Symmetrize. I've got to select some edges that I want to use as my kind of symmetry in my UV space. So even though this is a different shell, I'm going to select as my edge this set of lines here. Okay, and then what that means is I can make my brush size bigger for this. I can edit this so the UVs match that, and that's actually not the way around I want to do it. I'm going to go Control Z. I want to click on this and make this match that. Okay, it's always really good to have like symmetrical UVs as well, because it just means that when I create the image for this bit of the ear, I can just literally flip it and I can then use it for this bit of the ear as well. Okay, so rather than having to create a separate one because the UVs are different. So that's symmetrizing the UVs. Okay, great. Again, I'm just going to go and turn that tool off. Okay, right. So what do I want to have a look at next? Next, I want to have a look at the mouth, I think. The mouth's a little bit odd, actually. If we look at where all this red area is, I'm just going to select an edge loop here. You can see that even though I select an edge loop, we can't actually see it on here. If I select the edge loop just on the lip here, you can see actually, look, the edge loop's quite around the edge. So there's actually quite a lot of inner mouth here, and that's probably why it's kind of quite red and distorted. Okay, so I'm just going to select one edge loop in. So yeah, and then shouldn't be able to see that seam. And then I'm just going to go cut, and then I'm just going to go and select the UV shell and move it. Okay, so let's move that off. Here we go, and then just do an oh, I need to do a cut, don't I? First of all, I'll just do a cut along here. So it's going edges. I should just be able to do a cut. Just hold Shift, and I can just cut along here. So we've got a cut along there, and now again, I'm just going to go into UV shell. So I've got the whole UV shell selected. You can see where our cuts are, and then just go unfold, bang. Okay. So that should work nicely. I'm wondering if I go straighten shell, that hasn't done a lot for us. Okay, so I might just want to rotate that into a more kind of logical position. It's kind of a bit odd where it is right now. Okay, that's fine. Or what I can do as well is you can use snapping. So you can go align, snap. And one thing that's quite good, if you want everything to kind of be on the line of symmetry, you can click on there and I can just sort of snap everything to the middle as well. That's another thing that you can do as well. Okay, excellent. Okay, so that's our mouth there. Okay, what else? So our eyes are a little bit red. Actually, one of the things I've noticed as well, we've got a similar thing going on with the nostrils. Again, just make sure my symmetry is turned on. So I've got it in Object X there. And then what I want to do is I'm going to do a cut. I think I'm just going to do a cut around here. Okay, I'm just going to go cut. Okay, and then I'm just going to go and select that UV shell and just move it up. Okay, there we go. So we've got a couple more UV shells as well. This is a little bit odd to try and get to this, but I need to try and do a cut along here. I'm thinking this might be where I want to do use my what I might try and do is use my I might just cut the top edge along here. What I might do is just use this is it side UVs and cut 3D, and I'm just going to go. I'm going to press Control with my left. Oh, sorry, press Control. Sorry, Shift. I think it is actually Shift, and just drag the mouse down to select that entire cut. Hopefully that should do it. Now, if I go into, don't know what I selected there. Let's try it again. Go into, oh yes, turn this tool off. Go into UV shell. Select the UV shell, and now what I want to do is click unfold. Let's see what we get. Yeah, so I had a good cut there. That's all worked out nicely. So I want to do unfold there. Probably want to do my symmetry thing again, so let's just do that. So just go tools, symmetrize, select this edge here, and then just pick one of these sides, and then we've got a symmetry there as well, and that should help us out. Okay, so what should happen then is you should see that we haven't got sort of bright red nostrils here. Okay, now with that all done, what I might do is actually just go back and select. Sorry, I need to turn my symmetry tool off. I'm going to go back and select this UV shell, and I'm just going to do an unfold again, because now I've sort of turned, I've cut bits out of it, so it's all different, and so it's got a different sort of UV space that it can use. So what I'm going to do is just unfold again and see what result I get. Okay, great. So hopefully that's kind of relaxed everything a little bit more, okay, in terms of our red space. I think the only area I've got of concern is we've still got some blue areas here. Now we could just resolve that with some cuts, so I'm thinking like we could do, again, I might just turn the symmetry on, and I'm just going to do some cuts along here, I think just behind the ear. Let's see what that does for us. So I'm just going to go cut, and then I'm just going to go UV shell, select the shell, and then do an unfold. And you can see we've used that cut, and hopefully that cut has allowed us to kind of unfold the model a little bit more in a slightly more sort of friendly way as well. I could add some more cuts in there if I wanted to. I'm kind of thinking that's okay. I think I'm okay with that at the moment. What else am I going to do? So just looking at the eyes, I think the eyes are fine. One of the things I did think about was, because this is red, again, this kind of needs a bit more space. One of the things I did think about doing was, actually, if I turn off, so I want to turn off the symmetry here. So I'm just selecting one eye, okay? And if I go into scale, if I scale this in a little bit, it kind of just does give the eye a little bit more space. If we look in there, you can see what the problem is that we've got, we've basically got, am I looking at the right eye here? Let's think about it. I think it's this eye I'm looking at now. Yeah, you can tell by the, we've got quite, these are quite small sort of surface areas here, and then suddenly there's quite a big surface area one here, where the sort of inside of the eye is, okay? So again, we can kind of just give that a bit more space, and that should kind of make things a little bit better than they were, okay? Okay, what I want to do is I want to kind of symmetrize this, because this is kind of like, we've got the eyes different to this side, but there's other bits as well that are slightly different in the UV space, and it makes it easier to kind of flip details across if you want, if this is symmetrized. Okay, so what we can do is we can go again, sorry, tools, symmetrize. Oh, not smear, symmetrize. Again, just select this edge. This is what we're going to reflect. This is what we're going to treat as our reflection, and I'm just going to click on this edge and just basically say, hey, make this all the same. Okay, all right, excellent. And I can do the same. I can do it for all our UV shells, but there we are. Yeah. So now that's all symmetrized. I'm just going to go and turn that tool off. Okay. So let's have a look at what we've got then. So we've got a nicely symmetrized UV. So it should be kind of quite easy to work with. Let's have a look at our distortion here. So that's what we're looking at right now. So I always want to put a UV on there. I'm going to turn the distortion off. Okay. So you can get an idea of what it looks like on the UV map. I have got, sorry, these UV shells, because I haven't resized them yet. These UV shells are very large, so we've got a very dense pattern here. It's not making it very easy to kind of see what this looks like, although it does look okay to me. I'm just going to go and let's try that again. just reduce that down. Okay, just get an idea what that looks like. Again, I'm just going to reduce that down. Reduce that down. I kind of want to do them both at the same time, really. Okay, so just trying to make them a bit smaller. At this point, I'm just looking at the kind of shape of the UVs. I think I'm kind of happy with that. That's all looking pretty good, actually. Yeah, good around the neck, good around there. So it's a good kind of even distribution of UVs. At this point, what I'm really trying to make sure is we haven't got any kind of elongated UVs, and that they're kind of generally flowing across the surface, okay? And I think I'm happy with that, okay? Okay. So the final thing I want to do with this head then is I want to go into UV shells. I'm going to drag across the head because I want to select all the UV shells. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go, I'm going to go into Tools. In fact, sorry, it's Modify. And I'm just going to click Layout, okay? And this is a really powerful tool that's available inside of Maya. And what it's done, I'm just going to turn this checker pattern off. You can see it's just automatically laid out the UVs for me. It's not making the most optimal use of the space, but the most important thing that it's doing is that it's keeping the textural density consistent across all of the shells that make up this object. So whereas before, if I just go Control Z, okay, before we had, you can see that there's very few pixels here on this ear, whereas there's a lot more pixels here on this head. So per sort of square centimeter of space, for example, okay, and so it's not consistent. So by using this tool, Modify Layout, it fixes that and it makes that consistent, okay? And that's really, really important. Okay, so I think there we've got a good set of UVs that we can move forward with, okay? So let's go back now. Now we've done that, let's go back to our channel box, and I'm going to click on the boy. We might have the face in there as well. I'm just thinking what else we could have a look at. So I'm thinking about the hand. We've actually got two hands here, so what I might do is I could combine them so that they're in the same one, or I could transfer the UVs. I might just try and transfer the UVs. Okay, so let's just select this one. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to click on this button here to create a new layer with just the hand in it. Just going to call it hand. Great. And now if I click these two layers, I was hoping the hand would be in that layer. There we are. Let's just work out what's happened. What I might do is I think I'm going to delete the layer, and let's do that again. So just make sure I'm in object mode. That might have been the problem. Let's go into object mode. Click on there. Okay, now hopefully, yes, the hand's on that layer this time. Okay, so I wasn't in object mode. That's what the problem was. Okay, so I'm going to save. So let's remove these, and then let's focus on the hand. So I think a better starting position would be to do a planar projection from the top rather than from the side. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so I'm just going to go UV. I tend to start with the planar project. That's kind of my most popular sort of solution. Planar project, and from the y-axis, and go project. Okay, that's fine. What's happening here, which I think is a little bit distracting actually in this case, it was doing the same before, but it was less of a problem with the face. So if I click on the options here, what it's doing is it's going, it's basically trying to fit the whole bounding box. What I need to do is if I click here, keep image width height ratio, and then click project, you should see that now what it does is, rather than trying to fill this entire UV square, it just it'll keep the proportions of it. Okay, so a common approach to this is to kind of cut the hand along the length here, and I'm just trying to pick the best uh, edge loop to use for this. So I'm going to go into selecting edge loops. I'm going to try this tool that we talked about earlier. So this UV 3D cut tool. I'm just going to go and press Shift, and then let's see how well that cuts along here. We can keep going, keep going. Is it going to let me? I think I've managed to just do a complete cut with it. Totally. There we are. There we go. So I just used that 3D cut tool to cut that. So now I should be able to go into UV's. Go onto my select tool. So that I need to deselect this cut tool. You see. So I'm just going to go onto the select tool. And then I'm just going to select the UV shells. Let's just move that across here. Okay, let's just do an unfold and see what this looks like. So I'm going to go back into the UV toolkit, and I am just going to go and do an unfold, and unfold. Okay, let's just move this around a little bit. Let's just see what the distortion looks like with that. Okay, that is a pretty good result, actually. Yeah, I think we could use that. I think that will be fine. So what we might want to do is I think we just want to lay these out a little bit better. And I don't think we have much of an issue with the. No, that's fine. So it's fairly consistently laid out. I'm just looking at the tips of the fingers here. That's all looking good as well. So yeah, that's fine. I mean, I might do a little cut at the end of the fingers, but I think actually avoiding that is a good thing. So I think we're just going to stick with it as is. So let's just turn that off. Okay, so what I might do is just go into UV shell, select the two UV shells, and I'm going to be lazy and just go into modify layouts and just let it do its layout thing. That's not particularly useful, is it, really? Let's just try and move that there, and I might just sort of rotate that. Okay, here we go. Excellent. Okay, let's might just zoom that up a little bit. There we go. I'm just using the hotkeys now to move between the. Well, I did just use the hotkey there to move between the scale tool. That'll do. Okay. Okay, let's go back now to the entire boy model. Okay. So we can see the whole thing, and let's see the face. Okay, so now if I go into object mode, we have a nicely unfolded hand, and we have a not unfolded hand. Okay. So yeah, we've got a. So what we can use a tool to transfer this UV set of UVs to this geometry. Obviously, assuming that the geometries match, have the same number of vertices, and everything matches. Okay. Great. So what we can do is I can click on here, and I can go mesh. I can go transfer attributes. I want to click on options. I want to click on the sample space needs to be set to component. Okay, so I'm going to select that. So if I select this object, and then I want to select the object that I want to transfer the UVs to, I click apply, and then what you will see is we now have a nice set of UVs on here and a nice set of UVs on there. Okay, now let's just check that the UVs are fine. I'm not sure whether they needed to be flipped or not. I think that's fine. Yeah, in both cases there wasn't a need to flip them, so that's working fine. And obviously what that means is I can use the same image for both hands as well. Okay, I think this is as far as I want to kind of take this tutorial, but I just wanted to kind of give you a bit of a flavour of how to use some of the more powerful UV mapping tools, and how to UV map sort of a slightly more complex shape. Okay, hope you enjoyed it. Goodbye.